Welcome to Civil War Digital Digest. I'm Will. We've traveled down to the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Library and Museums. There's two of them on this campus here at Spiegel Grove. And we're with Kristina Smith from the marketing team, meeting another person from the Civil War through artifacts that don't have place in the museum display, but they're kept in the vault. Who are we meeting today, Kristina?
Today we're going to talk about General Ralph Buckland. He is a local hometown general. He was President Hayes's law partner, as well as his friend.
Wow. So we've got some life to talk about and some war service. Let's start before the war. How do Hayes and Buckland connect?
So they both went to Kenyon College, but not at the same time. So Buckland is a little bit older than Hayes, so he graduates first. Hayes goes to Kenyon College, then Hayes goes to Harvard Law School, and then he comes here to Fremont, which was known as Lower Sandusky at that time. And he joins Buckland in a law practice in 1845, and they stay together until 1849. At that time, Hayes decides Lower Sandusky isn't that exciting. Around that time, Lower Sandusky and the village of Croganville combine and become known as Fremont, named after John C. Fremont. And Hayes wants to move somewhere a little bit bigger, so he moves to Cincinnati. So that's when their law partnership dissolves, but they still remain friends.
Okay, so there's no animosity. It's just different career and family goals.
Yeah. Hayes wants to move on to something. He's still really young and wants to move on to a little bit bigger city and something a little more exciting.
Which he does. In previous episodes, we've seen where he lives in Cincinnati during the Civil War era, or where Lucy lives. Let's go to wartime. How does Buckland enter service?
So the war breaks out and Buckland enlists, and he becomes commander of the 72nd Ohio Volunteer Infantry. So those are the local guys here in Fremont. And so he is in the Army of the Tennessee. They fight in the Battle of Shiloh. After Shiloh, Buckland becomes a brigadier general. And so they continue throughout the war. He wins, obviously, the confidence of General Sherman and General Grant. So he gets the brigadier general status.
And that's really what we start seeing here, because in pieces that aren't in the museum but are in the collection, we see Brigadier General straps, and then I see a hat badge for the officer's dress hat, or the Hardy hat.
Yes. Yeah. So we're very excited to have these. Unfortunately, we have more than 20,000 artifacts here, so we can't keep everything on display. But these are very significant. And so, of course, we have the dress epaulets that he would have worn on his dress uniform. And you mentioned the hat badge, and then the stars that he would have worn on his shoulders. And then, of course, we have the escutcheon, which these are really amazing pieces of art. We have a few of these, so we're very happy to have General Buckland's. We also have Hayes's, which is on display in the Hayes home.
Talk to me about what this is.
So escutcheons these are actually hand-painted pieces of art, and the art just amazes me, and they show where the particular officer served. So in this case, it has Brevet Major General Ralph P. Buckland, and it talks about his service. So here you can see Army of the Tennessee. And it talks about, he started out as Lieutenant Colonel, 72nd Ohio Volunteer Infantry. It has the date he mustered in, October 3rd of 1861. And it goes on to talk about his service. And you can see this writing is very precise.
And it's his service personally, because you see from Lieutenant Colonel to Major General, you see infantry and officers' staff. You see the corps he served with, the different corps badges here.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a whole record of his service. And then so he would have had this in his home. This would have been, a record of his service and kind of a source of pride for him and his family. And then it would have been passed down through generations, which is how we received it. And of course, we would have received it because he and Hayes were such good friends.
Do you know about when you guys received it?
That I'm not sure. We have quite a few Buckland things. At one point, the Hayes Presidential Library and Museums actually owned Buckland's daughter's house, which was across the street.
Fantastic. And are there other pieces of Buckland that you know that are around?
Yes, so we know that the Sandusky County Historical Society has some of Buckland's artifacts as well.
Great. What do we know about Buckland and Hayes post-war?
They remain friends. So both of them actually post-war are elected to Congress at the end of the war. So they both serve starting in 1865 when war is over.
So they're both in Congress as friends, as retired generals at the same time for different Ohio districts.
Yes, for different districts.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So Buckland would have served the district here. Hayes would have served the district from Cincinnati.
Okay.
So. And then Buckland also serves as mayor of Fremont as well. So he's really pretty much a hometown guy through and through. They stay friends for, the rest of their lives. Hayes, is around the state. He stays in Cincinnati. He becomes governor, as we know. But eventually he comes back to Fremont and retires here. But when he runs for president, General Buckland rejoins politics to help him with that as well.
And what do we know about that, if anything?
Not a whole lot, just that he was very supportive and would help in any way he could to put the word out about Hayes and being supportive of him running for president.
Fantastic. Well, here's a chance to bring these pieces out and for a little bit to meet a hometown boy. So there's a service there for the larger men that can be represented. As we wrap this up, what thoughts do you get left by Buckland?
I think he just is a good example of a life of service, a life of dedication to this area. Some people stay where they're from, and he was very dedicated to the Fremont area. Some people leave and are still very dedicated as well. And I think it's just an amazing life of service. You see him, much like Hayes, he joins up when the war starts. He, becomes mayor. He serves in Congress. So I think it's interesting to see both men have different paths, but they both lead a life of service. And he's buried here at Oakwood Cemetery as well.
And there's a life of service from a generous benefactor to country, whether politically or whether through military service.
Yes.
Well, Kristina, thanks. I know we have to shoot on weekends this time of year, and you come in on a weekend to work with your team and have stories to share with us and with everybody. And I want to say for all the viewers here, thank you very much for spending some time with us. Thank you for spending time with Civil War Digital Digest. We meet another Union officer. We make another small connection. But beyond the military, we meet another life of service, both to the country and to the area we're visiting. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you again soon.